maybe.
It covers it for you.
Yeah, you do get told, but rather than the ominous Jitsi voice come in and tell people, I like to warn people before, because if somebody says, "Hold on, give me 1 second," I can always just wait.
True.
So, for folks not familiar with the voice and face in front of me, this week we have Tom Ray.
Me.
Yeah. So, I usually like to, well, I mean, this is pretty typical. It's not like something special I invented. Announce the guest for next week at the end of the show. But two things are happening. One, I've already done that. I did that on the interview with Josh because we hadn't picked the date yet. And the other thing is that the next guest is Rhino, and I know that you have done some. You did a show with Rhino, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so I figured that, yeah.
Well, I did a live show that he put together in Milwaukee.
Yeah, but was he there?
Yes, he was there.
Okay,
it's the first time over all these years, it was the first time I was in the same room with the man. So yes, I got to meet him and his family and stuff. It was great.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I didn't. I met Rhino down in New Orleans a few years ago, and but I didn't meet any of his family. And Kala was at that show, correct? Was anybody else at that show?
The Resurrectionists. So Joe Cannon and the band that he was playing with, Resurrectionists.
Okay, so I'm not familiar with them. Kala is been a member of the CC community for years now, so I suspect folks will be familiar with him. But the Resurrectionists, what do they like?
They're lo-fi folk punk, if you wanted to put a label on it. They can get noisy, but there's also a banjo involved on occasion, and they have a really interesting like synth that they use. I forget the name of it, but I was completely obsessed with it when we played the show. I loved the synth that the guy was playing, and the bass player is fantastic. And no, the whole band, great people. I really enjoyed them a lot. Hung out with them after the show. Great bunch of people. They even came into Madison here. They play Joe, the singer for the band. He's in like 12 bands or something like that. Literally, the night we were playing that show, he rushed off stage, grabbed his gear, and ran down the street to play a show with a different band right after he finished that show.
Right. And you said that they're called the Resurrectionists?
Just Resurrectionists.
Just Resurrectionists. Okay, because I was gonna say there's a the Resurrectionists on YouTube, and they have like 37,000 subscribers, and I'm like, that's pretty legit.
Yeah, they're just Resurrectionists, and if you they have some great videos. They've got a videographer that does a bunch of stuff for them, but I think they only have 10 videos.
Resurrectionist MK. Okay, I see them here
because they're out of Milwaukee.
Yeah.
So I was the only one that wasn't from Milwaukee that played the show.
But I mean, Madison's not so far away.
Well, it's an hour and a half away.
Well, look, you and I know that, but I'm just saying for people watching, it's not like you flew across the country. So
no.
You said they had some cool videos. So do you have one in mind?
No. If you're on the, so I'm not on the channel there. I look for the one where they're in the pool. If you want to play something by them.
The ghost this time.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Let's check this out. And they have 59 subscribers. So go subscribe.
Yeah.
Also subscribe to this video, which I don't say enough. So.
I know. I never do that either with all the ones that I do.
Surely it works.
Yeah.
Or people would not.
People wouldn't do it constantly to the point where they make fun of it on television.
Yes. Right. Exactly. So there's a Linux podcast that I listen to ever so often, and he always says at the end of his show, like that smash button, which is another one of those.
Yes.
I'm making fun of the But he's still doing it, even though he's making fun of it.
I want to know when that happened, when people like who did the smash that subscribe button thing. Yeah. And it's just like, really? I mean, I get it, I suppose. Somebody else does boop the subscribe button. So you can't just say subscribe to the podcast anymore or subscribe to the video. You have to give it some zazz, some pep.
Yeah. You need a catchphrase, clearly. All right. Yeah. Let's check this out. This is I was going to say it's very un-Milwaukee to be in a pool like this, but I say that because it's like mid-November. It does get warm in Milwaukee.
We have seasonal pools here. Come on.
No, I
had a pool growing up.
Yes. So it gets warm, no doubt. And there's a giant lake in Milwaukee for anybody not familiar. So
yes.
It's not, I guess strictly speaking, it's not in Milwaukee. Like Milwaukee is on the banks of the giant lake.
Yes, if a lake was in a city, it would not be a city.
It would not.
Man, semantics, dude.
well,
people know what you mean.
I know. Again, people might not know that it's Lake Michigan that I'm talking about. When I say, "Oh, there's a lake," it's
right,
like there's lakes in Minneapolis.
It made it sound like you were going, well, it's kind of a lake. It's one that you study in school.
Yes, it's one of the big ones. All right. Resurrectionist. Let's check it out.
Yes.
But for how long must I go on missing you? How long must I go on? The days, they are pointless. And the nights are too long. Time, it is ruthless, darling. And I am not strong.
All right, we were discussing in the chat the guitar in the water, and Tom, it wait, it mutes you. You have to unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. Microphone down at the bottom.
There we go.
Yeah.
Why does it do that? If you're gonna mute me, unmute me when you're done doing it.
Well, no, okay, but think about it. You know that you're unmuted, and then you start spilling all your clandestine activities, to the other thugs around.
No, I get muting it during the video, but if it's gonna mute me automatically, it should unmute me automatically.
Well,
any developers out there watching this, you know what to do.
I see what you're saying, but I also you don't ever want to auto unmute somebody, because what if they decide to go to the bathroom and now you just you're hearing...
then they're not aware that they're doing a show.
Well,
or that they're on a video chat.
Well, but I mean, you could not be recording. You could be on a business call. And then,
I forgot how much the devil's advocate you play constantly. Even in something like you would be arguing on the side of this. If you can't, this is something you would go, why wouldn't they just automatically do it? If it happened
I've thought about this. Actually, I've thought about this a lot, because we've been using this and everybody always does this the first time. Everybody never unmutes. So I've seen it.
Exactly. My point. It's called user experience.
Yeah.
There's literally an entire field behind it. Everybody would say, why doesn't it unmute me? There's got to be, it's the first thing I said when we did this. You're not going to win this one.
I think we're just going to have to agree to disagree. You can't. This is why I can't unmute you. So I can't help you out either.
That I understand. Yeah. That part I get.
It's the same thing, because it's the computer that's unmuting you.
Okay.
You don't know how long the video is going to be.
It switched back to your face. I'm aware that it switched back to you, and now I have to do something. But I should have had to mute it before we went into it then.
Okay. I agree.
Welcome to the technology podcast, everyone.
I agree. If this was a platform for recording shows and that was it, then I would agree. But it's not. It's a platform for any sort of video conference.
Yes, because in meetings, people love it when they go, Fred, you need to unmute your mic after that presentation. Yeah, because that's exactly what a meeting is for.
So I have a confession to make. I'm on work calls all the time, and I just go to the damn bathroom because
yeah, but you muted your mic. It didn't go, oh, he walked away, I'll mute his mic for him. That's my point. It's the same. It's that something else is doing it for you. Then they should, because other people could be like, oh, I didn't realize it muted while I was doing that. And then they just don't have, and they're like, what happened?
All right. I'm going to do that other thing that people always do. Let us know down in the comments. You have the point. That's required.
And everybody will say Tom is right.
Maybe. We'll see. We'll see what people say.
Getting back to Resurrectionists, because they're more interesting than this conversation that we're having. So one thing I want to mention, every band I've met from Milwaukee, apparently they all have friends that are videographers, because they have videos that are all professionally filmed. I'm jealous of that. I swear every musician in Milwaukee has a videographer friend. So one, that video is shot fantastically.
Yes.
Now, two, what we were talking about in the muted chat session was that you said it couldn't be good for the guitar. That's literally the first thing that I asked Joe when I met him. I was like, that guitar. One, I wanted to know, I've always wanted to try a guitar underwater. What does it sound like? And his first thing he said is it's hard to play. But it doesn't make any noise. It's just like thunk thunk. I was always curious, does it echo under the water? And he basically was like, no, it doesn't do anything. It's like something's holding on to the strings and it does nothing. Yeah. But he also, I want to say, said that that was actually bought specifically for the shoot. It's like a pawn shop guitar.
I bet if you asked the Dolphin that same question, Dolphin would be like, hell yeah, it makes a sound underwater.
Next time I talk to a dolphin, I will make sure to bring that up, and they will tell me the answer. I speak dolphin fluently, and they love Creative Commons music, so they've probably seen the video.
Yeah.
Probably. See what I did there? Yeah.
Yeah. We were talking before we hit record about how your background changes all the time.
Yeah.
So a lot of people probably don't know um, your day job. So I wanna give you the opportunity to talk about that, and then I actually
My
have some
business is
questions.
what you
Yeah.
mean. It's not,
Well,
I mean, it's a day job, but it's
yeah.
actually my own business. So I collect and sell vintage and pop culture items from the 90s and earlier, toys, games, books, and other items like that. A lot, just basically if it's something that I found interesting or some sort of item from, from the 90s and earlier, I buy it and I sell them online. And then I also make videos about the things that I find and sell as well on my YouTube channel at The Pop Culture Roadshow.
Do you ever find like Kiss action figures or anything like that?
No, and I would love that. I would not sell those. The closest I came was I found some Kiss trading cards, but they were reissues. They weren't the original ones that I had when I was a kid. But yeah, no, I was a huge Kiss fan. So any Kiss stuff I find, I'm keeping that. I'm not. That's the other beauty part, is that if there is something I don't want to give away, one, if I can't justify keeping it, I'll sell it. I'll put it up for sale for like way more than it's worth. So I'll sell it. But then I can say like, okay, yes, I can argue to my wife, yes, I am selling this. But
nobody's bidding. I have no idea why.
Yeah, and I've been collecting toys for years. I've been collecting toys and comics since I want to say high school, and that was the thing, is I kept collecting them, and I always eventually said like, these are going to be worth something someday. These are going to be college tuition for our son, and I eventually had to actually start selling them, but I didn't want to. I had the collecting part down, but the selling part I didn't have down. So now I've learned more how to let go of the stuff, and also I realize that I can just keep finding things. It's actually a lot more fun to hunt things down than, and then I sell them, and it's like, I remember having them,
Do you ever find, I know this is not, what your bread and butter as a business, but do you ever find like old guitars or cool stuff like that?
Never anything good. Let's put it this way. There will be, so the places I go to, estate sales to find things. Which is also one of the funnest things in the world. It's like going on a little mini vacation every weekend. I'll travel like 3 hours away to an estate sale that has stuff I want. And you get to walk around some stranger's home and look at every inch of their house and like, go, what a weird place this is. Quick side story. I went to an estate sale once and I'm like, wow, what a fancy house. Walked in, and all of a sudden I started hearing the echoing screams of children. And I'm like, is this place haunted? It was like literal screams. And I started following it, and they were echoing. They were reverberation everywhere. And I'm like, where is that? I start walking. I go down a hallway. I turn left. Full Olympic size basketball court in this house. Like I did not know when we walked in the place, but also there was an upper level with seating. It was the craziest thing I ever saw, just out of nowhere. I had no clue. Anyway, that's the quick side story. But
before we move on, what we just learned is that if you're ever in a horror movie, you're definitely gonna die, or at least move. You're gonna move the story forward. Yes. Like I hear screaming children, I'm like, you know what? I'm peacing out. Tom's like,
oh, you're saying me specifically? I am, because that was my choice.
Yes, yeah. Let's find out what's going on. Okay.
Got to go sometime, I suppose. Whatever.
Fair enough.
But as far as whenever I go to these things, if they do have instruments for sale, it's never anything good. It's stuff that. Yeah, it's stuff you would get like really cheap or something. It's never like, oh my God, here's a vintage. I don't even know the name of a good vintage guitar to name to make this point. But yeah, it's rarely do I see instruments. And when I do, they're never anything of note. A lot of acoustic guitars, but not a lot of electric equipment.
Yeah. The main reason I ask is because, I mean, aside from this being a music show, for whatever reason on my like Google News, I get like random like guitar news like all the time, and so I see people that they're like, this guy bought this like old Gibson from 1955 or whatever like that, and I'm like, I don't care. Why do you keep telling me this? You really want me to buy a guitar?
Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Shut up, phone.
But yeah, so like I some people go looking for these things, and those are the ones that apparently find the good stuff. So
there are probably better ways to do it. Actually, the guys in my band hunt that stuff down way more than I do. They get a lot more off of like Craigslist and stuff like that. They will all the time go, I just saw like a Mackie board for sale for like somebody's giving it away for like $200. They're saying giving it away for $200. To me, I'm like, that's $200, but I'm sure it's way more than that. It's worth more, but they buy stuff there all the time. My drummer actually just traveled 3 hours away to buy a ride cymbal that was basically half the price it would be, because it was the same one that he got from the rental kit that he played in Prague because he really liked it. So yeah, so stuff like that. They have a lot more success on Craigslist. That's still the place to go to find electric equipment, as far as I know.
Very nice. All right. I haven't quite figured out the pacing of the. So I think I told you this. Pretty sure I told you this. We have a sync from YouTube to PureTube, and it's 500 megabytes. Yeah, and that ends up being about 50 minutes. So like, I'm always nervous about the clock. Like, I haven't quite figured out the pacing. Like, because at the end of a lot of like podcasts and shows, people will be like, so is there anything else that you want to talk about? Yeah. And I can't really ask that question, because unless I like start it like 5 minutes early, like, no, I'm ending this now. Like, so
you know what you need to do? You cut out an argument for 5 minutes about the muting aspects of the
that's
the
important.
Technology
People
we're
need
using.
to know. This is how I'm going to get all those comments, and I'm gonna get in the go up in the algorithm. So that was important.
Yeah.
But I think we should probably move to. I mean, we did actually segue a little bit accidentally about talking about your band members.
Yeah.
So what is new with the band? As you mentioned, you went to Prague. That's been a minute, but people might not know about it.
It's been exactly a year. We actually a year ago today arrived back home from
very nice.
The summit that we did.
That was not planned, but that's an awesome coincidence.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how's Prague?
It was great. I never thought I was going to go to Europe. It was never anything I expected to do. And it's funny the way it came about. Me and my bass player were at our studio, and we were getting ready to release new music. We have a bunch of stuff in the queue that we're working on, and we had this new method that we came up with to actually collaborate online through GitHub, and using Ardour, the recording DAW, and Ubuntu Studio, which is what I have the whole band on now. We all use Ubuntu Studio. The band itself only uses free and open source tools for recording video and all that stuff. And we were promoting the stuff, we're getting ready, and I was just sitting there working on a song with my bass player, and I kind of was thinking ahead about how we were going to release things, and I was already self-doubting myself, in the sense where I'm just like, I don't know what to do to promote this. We've got all this stuff going on, and I have no way to tell people about it, or I don't know how to get the word out there about how we're full on being open source musicians, and I would argue the only open source musicians in the world, because we only use open source things. We actually put the real DAW files, like you can go in and change anything on our songs, and it's in an open source format that you can download. We use no proprietary software whatsoever. Everything you download can be used and right out of the gate be there. So when there are people that say they're open source, but it's like, well, do you use open source recording equipment? Do you use, DAW software, all that kind of stuff? Anyway, that's a small minor note. But the thing too is I was just like, but how do I get that word out there? And oddly enough, right then and there, I don't know if I don't know if things just aligned, but all of a sudden I got a message on Facebook from Eric, the the head of Ubuntu Studio, the guy that runs the whole thing, the lead of the actual operating system itself. And he goes, hey, Ubuntu is starting up their summit again in Prague. And I just got asked by one of the people that is one of the tech leads over there if I had any sort of musicians or things that use the system that I could recommend. And he said, and I told him about you guys. So he's going to be messaging you and seeing if you and the band want to go to Prague. And I was like, oh my God, I was just starting to get kind of frustrated with it. It's like, I don't know how to promote this or explain this to people. And I talked to him and the band played. I did a talk about our process for recording, how we came up with the method to collaborate on GitHub, and how we released 6 songs during the pandemic without ever being in the same room together. And yeah, so we got to go to Prague, never been there, actually hung out every night with Paul Davis, the guy that created Ardor. We great friends with him and the partner that he works with on the software, Robin. And yeah, it was a great experience. And I never would have gotten any of that if it weren't for open source tools and being an open source musician. It was really, really cool. And that's why I love this community so much, is who would have thought that would have happened? And the fact that you can talk to people directly and, everybody interacts because they work with other people in different parts of the world. So it was a great experience. And we played on a boat.
That's pretty cool. For folks, I mean, these are, old now, but for folks that want to learn more about Ardor, you and I spoke to Paul Davis a couple times on the Music Management Podcast.
Yes.
I should drop that in the show notes, which I don't think I've never tried to edit these live, I don't think.
I would also like to mention too, so for people listening, if you are a software developer, he is actively he's thinking ahead. He thinks of the future. He's thinking of the good of this software. And one of the reasons he was actually out in Prague and why Robin, his partner, went to the recent summit that just ended a few weeks ago, they are looking for people to continue on the software. They're looking for young, eager, and knowledgeable software developers to work on the software with them. So if anybody's looking to do that, they should contact Paul.
Yeah, and I think that our sort of it's not really fledgling, I wouldn't say, but of course, Creative Commons been around for 23-ish. I think it's January 17th. It'll be its 23rd birthday. No, it's 20. I don't know. I'm not going to do the math. It's over 20 years old. It's less than 20. It's less than 25, more than 20. The reason I know it's less than 25 is because that's when we're going to launch the Hall of Fame. The Creative Commons Hall of Fame is on the 25th anniversary. But I don't know that people have thought a lot about, like, with net labels and stuff. Maybe people do, but it's not something that I've heard people talk about. Like, what happens? I mean, it's not something that we've really talked about with Blocksonic. Like, what happens, when Mike is not able to handle Blocksonic stuff anymore?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of places out there. I mean, some places have, like Jamindo probably has enough people and enough, enough employees such that, they're not sort of centered around one person. But a lot of the net labels they're kind of one person gigs, and like net label day is Omar does net label day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not super sustainable. I mean, aside from like anything morbid, like somebody just gets bored or they get a job that takes up more of their time and they're not able to do it anymore. Like I spent some time years ago trying to figure out, having some sort of like mechanism for people to group together and pull it. Never really was it never really worked out. But I do think that is something that people need to think about. What are we doing?
Yeah, bringing in people is always a good idea. I mean, that's what net labels are for anyway, is to bring in people to a certain genre. I'm surprised not that more people don't reach out and go, "Hey, I would like to help out with this," I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I don't know. And that's one thing that I think, we probably need to be more just explicit about in the community. Things with like the Creative Commons Community Music Awards. We need people, like CC Mixter, they need people. Like
Mhm.
all of these organizations, like they run on shoestrings, shoestrings and love. So I think people might be kind of intimidated, like, oh, I don't know the music scene, or I don't know all that much about Creative Commons and whatever, but just get in and learn. And I wonder too if some people are concerned because they're like, well, like I listen to some Creative Commons music, but like I listen to a bunch of other stuff too. It's like,
Well,
okay,
that's just
I
being a
mean,
music
like,
fan as
right,
well.
exactly. So it's like, I mean, at some level, like,
I mean, I listen to a bunch of stuff too. I mean, I have two
right,
shows right now where I do one that's Creative Commons music and one that's music that was literally collected to inspire the writing of a song. I'm able to catalog that and recall that in my head more than I'm able to go, oh, this CC artist
yeah,
does this that could inspire something. No, it would be like, oh, I want that. I want that drum sound from that Man song. That's
right, yeah, yeah. So I mean, I think people just and probably got some imposter syndrome. So if you think, oh, I want to get involved, and I've heard this actually literally from people, is that they don't want to get involved because they feel like they don't want to like half-ass it, and
Mhm.
it's like, well, you know, if you like you're no like half-assing it is better than no-assing it. Like that's kind of the way I feel about it. I mean, as long as you're clear about what you can do when you join to like help a community,
Yeah.
like hey, I've got like an hour a week. Is there something I can do? Or I've got an hour a month. Whatever it is, like like we don't need full-time people. Most people are not doing this full-time.
Right.
So
It's a weird thing, and it's something I actually learned from the podcast that we did, the Music Manumet show. It's that we would meet people all the time, people that really were, for lack of a better way of putting it, faceless. They ran a site or they did a net label or they did something with the Creative Commons community that we were aware of because we would look at the Creative Commons community, talk in the chats. They would talk in the chats. We would ask them to come talk about this thing that was really interesting, or this band or this music they're doing, or this net label that they have. And they would be very reluctant because they wouldn't want to actually interact in a way that was outside of what they were doing, the environment that they've created, the one that they sustain themselves because they're comfortable with the way they've set it up and they have a routine for doing it, or even or maybe they're just shy, but they
yeah,
do these amazing things online. And that's what I've learned and we've gotten most of them, almost every single person we've reached out to, we eventually were able to talk them into coming on the show. And they do these amazing things, but for some reason they're like, I don't know, I'm doing the thing. Maybe I'll keep doing it. Maybe I won't. And that's great. That's fine. But they're already doing these amazing things. So when you say that, I go, they are doing lots of things. And that is imposter syndrome. It really is. And I wish it wasn't there because so many of the people in this community are really great and supportive and
yeah.
do amazing things. And for them and I know you're right when you say this, but some of them feel like they just really couldn't put in the time. And it's like, you already are,
Right.
they
Yeah.
are still doing something.
And I do worry too, about this show being a video show, because I know some people, and I mentioned this before, but it's worth mentioning again. Like I have this mask. It's not here for demonstration purposes exactly, but I'll use it. It's like it's a video show, but it doesn't have to be a video show with your face. If you've got a mask and you want to wear it, it's going to be hard to put on with my ball cap. But like I don't care what you look like. But
we've talked to people.
It is a video show.
When we did the Music Manual podcast, we did it over video because it was better to have a discussion with someone while you saw them. But we would only release the voice. But here's the thing: a lot of people didn't even like doing that. They would they would turn off their camera and just talk to us on audio, which was perfectly fine.
Yeah, and I mean, and I think some people are concerned about language barriers too, which I mean, you know, I get, but also it's like as Americans, it's like we speak American. Like that's what we got. We got
nothing else. Most American thing that you just said.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like whatever, guys. Like again, it's like look, you speak German or whatever fluently. If you can come on the show and half-ass some English, that's way better than whatever the fuck you're gonna get me trying to speak German. I got like, you know, Die Beer, you know, like past that, you know, like Mundial. I got Mundial. That like, I don't know a lot more German words. We're pretty much tapped out. That's German. That's my German.
I don't know anyway. And you know more than I do.
Yeah. See, there we go. Well, beer is an easy one because
that's true.
Beer, so
I know the title of that U2 album.
Yeah, so there you go. But yeah, speaking of which, one guy who like, bless him, he came on the show when we were doing this as like a drop-in thing for a long time. And I think for him it was like he wanted to like speak English to get better. But Victor Van River, he's gonna be on the show in December. So I'm gonna. I haven't
spoke to Victor.
Yeah, we did. But I'm trying to think. But yeah,
it might have been one where there was one show we did where you had a translator, and it actually turned out better than I thought. There was a person translating for me, and if anything, they were having their own conversation while I was trying to ask questions.
Yeah, that was Fernando.
Oh, okay.
I don't think we ever had Victor on. We might have talked about. Yeah, but I kind of thought that we did too, but I
might have just been on the music show.
Oh, yeah, might be. But yeah, Victor's a good guy, and he's doing some audio production and kind of dropped off. I think him leaving the drop-in show that we were doing was kind of the beginning of the end, as far as that show is concerned. So we didn't have enough people to sustain, you know, like there at the end, it was me and Donnie, and me and Donnie were like, well, we're here every week. Maybe we should do something else. I don't know if us coming and, you know, chatting and not really having any direction is useful for anyone. So this is what came out of that. But yeah, so Victor will be on. The other thing that I forgot to mention when we were talking about the you know, thinking about the future and stuff, I did reach out to Craig about taking over the Open Metal Cast, actually. And Craig is another guy who is going to be on the show. Hopefully, Craig has some health issues, which I'll let him talk about if he's able to make it on. But hopefully he's able to make it on. And you know, he thought that he might still do something with Open Metal Cast. So again, I'm going to let him talk about that if he wants to. I don't think that he knows what he wants to do with it, but he just has this hope that he can do something else with it. So, you know, I guess that would be my thing, you know, if people, you know, with podcasts, you know, like with like Dave and Caroline with the Bugcasts, like, I don't know, maybe their kids are going to take that over. So, I mean, like, I should get them on and see if that's in their will. So
I got to meet a friend of theirs when we were playing the show in Prague after we were done. Yeah. A person came up to me and was like, I'm supposed to say hello to you because from Dave and Carol. And it was a friend of theirs, and we hung out, and it was a nice guy. Yeah.
Nice. Who do you remember who it was? The name?
I want to say his name was, oh shoot, I should have thought of this beforehand, but I want to say it's Doug or Dave. Shoot, I can't remember. It was a year ago. No, but it was no. I'd have to look it up. I know I have his contact information, but I can't.
Well, I just wondered if it's somebody that I might have known. I mean, if they were visiting a Linux conference, then I do Linux things.
Yeah.
For people that don't know, I do Linux things in my day job. So,
yeah.
I might know some people. All right. I don't know. Did you pick out any videos that you?
Not really. Now we're getting close to the end of the 50 minutes here, aren't we?
We are. That's why if you wanted to play a video from your band.
How about our latest release, which is I Can Only Miss You? And also go to my channel because we've done the new release is a remix of the one that we released during the pandemic that was only available on Bandcamp. And now it's available everywhere. We remastered and remixed it. And it should be at the top of our channel page if you want to play that one.
The one from 2 weeks ago?
Yes.
Okay.
And that is I Can Only Miss You, which is available everywhere. That sounded so hackneyed.
So this is the audio version?
Yeah, the audio version.
Okay. That'll work. All right. So you kind of gave an intro. You want to say more?
Yes. And we're going to have more songs coming out. Basically, we're going to be releasing a song a month we're working on releasing a song a month for the next year. We want to just continually release songs every month. So
yeah.
Some of them are going to be remixes or remasters like this one, and others are going to be brand new songs. We actually have a movie soundtrack we're working on. So a lot of them are going to be from that movie soundtrack.
I have something to talk to you about, but
okay.
I can say it publicly. I just don't know if we're going to have time. So we'll see what happens after we listen to this track and are impressed by this album artwork.
In this place before, but it was innocent. Lights out and that shadow, or what is it? Told me something that I won't forget. Made up my mind that this was it. I can only miss you. I can only miss you. I can only miss you. Green light on the floor, but it was distant. We just made sense and I admit it. Don't be something that I won't forget. Made up my mind that this was it. I can only miss you. 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 I can only miss you.
All right. Now you have to unmute yourself again.
I thought I had unmuted. I hit the thing and it wouldn't let me.
Bastards.
So that was I Can Only Miss You by Lorenzo's Music.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, that was so. What is different about this than the original? What did you guys do?
It was just we had never mastered the other one, and we had actually gone through and fixed some of the levels. One of the things that I changed on it was the low vocals used to be the main, and now the higher vocals are the main. So just little tweaks like that. There was some high end in it that wasn't working right, so just a lot of EQing and things like that, and levels. And plus, the other thing too is because streaming services have a volume requirement, and our original one was too loud, so it was rejected when we first tried to put it in stores. Yeah, there's a so when you're switching from one song to the next, it doesn't do like Hulu when it goes to a commercial and suddenly it's like 10 times louder than the previous thing that was on. They have a set level, and a lot of the times they'll compress it, but sometimes it's too loud to compress because if they do that, it will just be distorted.
So I was going to ask, because it seems like that's something they could do on the document, but okay.
They can to a point, but then at some point they're going to be like, this is just too loud, or if it's too quiet, they're not going to turn it up. They don't go the opposite way for some reason. But what band is going, no, can we mix this quieter?
I mean, wasn't there wasn't Weezer famous about like turn it down or something like that? Wasn't that
I don't know. I've never heard that.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were joking, but nonetheless they said it. Yeah, and so their slogan was, if it's too loud, turn it down. So
well, that's just common sense right there.
Well, fair enough. But yeah, so I don't know don't know the history of that, but it always struck me as being not very rock and roll. But I mean,
I'm sure that was the intent,
Just turn it down. I mean, come on,
It's the anti-Kiss slogan, which is if it's too loud, you're too old, or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, that's the second time we've spoken about Kiss on this show.
Yeah. Well, Gene Simmons was a recurring character on the Music Monument podcast, so
that's true. We did talk about Gene Simmons a lot.
Yeah, so that's it makes sense. So. All right. Any catchphrases you want to lay on the people before I stop the stream here? Because that's all you got time for. You got a catchphrase.
Get some.
There you go.